It starts automatically. I don't know if we want that or. So this is the April 5th, 2022 meeting of the Bristol Planning Commission. I'll call the meeting to order at 7:04. Chris is not going to be with us tonight. He had a last minute fire department exercise to go on. I had intended for him to start the meeting to hold elections, so I can do that, I guess, unless somebody else has an objection and would prefer to do it themselves until we elect a chair. Okay, so reviewing the agenda, I have nothing to add, remove, or adjust. Does anybody else have any issues or topics for the agenda?
I do not.
Okay, whoops. Jeff,
No, nothing.
okay. So I guess the first, underneath item 2, election of officers, we need to elect a chair and vice chair for the coming year. What's your pleasure?
How does this work? Do we have to have nominations and seconds, or how do we just?
I don't think you need a second for nomination.
Okay. Well, Kevin, if you're willing to continue, I would nominate you to be the chair.
And I'm okay with that. Does anybody else want to do it? Oh, and we got cricket. So everybody that's in favor of Kevin Hansen continuing as chair, say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We'll do that. And now for vice chair,
Who's our vice chair?
Jeff is the
I am.
vice chair.
Kevin, you better not nominate me, or
Well, I will, Jeff. So I nominate Jeff for vice chair.
so I'm willing to take that on. I'm not going to repeat the American presidential candidate who said, if nominated, I will not run. If elected, I will not serve. I will run and I will serve.
Does anybody want to make it a contested race? Okay.
Somehow I don't picture Jeff as philosophically aligned with some of the policies of Lyndon Johnson.
I don't think it was Lyndon Johnson who said that.
Okay. So see, already he's correcting our history, or my remembrance of history.
I'm going to look it up.
Everybody that's in favor of Jeff, please say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's unanimous as well. For Peggy, for recording purposes tonight at the town hall, we have Shannon Hill, Lloyd Dyke, and myself. And then for guests, we have Jim Quagliano, and if the person that is AM could identify themselves, that'd be great.
Amos Martin.
Okay, thank you.
Who was that?
Amos Martin.
Thank you.
Moving down to item 3, administrative matters. We need to consider approval of the minutes from the March meeting. Anybody willing to make a motion?
I motion to approve.
Okay, Shannon makes a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Okay, Lloyd, well, actually Lloyd beat you, Jeff, but
Okay,
Lloyd
that's
seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, everybody that's in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, looks like they passed unanimously. Our zoning administrator was pulled away on a fire department function last minute, so we won't have administrator's report. For miscellaneous correspondence, Tom Wallace has declined reappointment. And I believe Lloyd Dyke is going to decline reappointment for the upcoming term, so we will have a couple openings. The Bristol Climate Change Forum that's being held by the Democratic Party, they originally were going to do it late March, I think it was, and they postponed until 4/13, and that will have a panel of I'll be there for the planning commission, and certainly anybody else that wants to attend or input is welcome to, as well as the Energy Commission Committee and the Conservation Commission. That's 4/13 at 7. Received so meeting minutes for the Best Bicycle and Pedestrian Point Advisory Committee. I did not get them out. I will send them out, and I will send Peggy a copy and copy Peggy so we can make those part of the minutes. Received a email from Valerie that there is a group called Vermont Short-Term Rental Assistance that's organizing a short-term rental conference sometime in June. If anybody's interested in pursuing that, I will send out the email for that as well to everybody after this meeting, and we'll also make that part of the meeting minutes. I think that's it for miscellaneous correspondence. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Where's that climate committee meeting? Where's it?
Where's it gonna be? I think it's gonna be remote.
Remote, okay.
That was, unless they change because things are loosening up, but
Yeah, is that, be on front porch end for connection?
I would imagine they haven't published a link yet. So yeah, Lloyd brought up, if you didn't hear, the meeting, where the meeting's gonna be, and my recollection or my belief is it's gonna be on Zoom unless they change that, and they, to my knowledge, they haven't put out a link for it yet. So going on to the next item is.
Hey, Kevin.
continuing- Oh, sure, go ahead.
Is this where you would like the update about the ARPA committee?
Yes, thank you. I didn't put it on here, but,
I figured it'd be under miscellaneous, so.
yes.
So we've had 2 meetings for the ARPA committee, just getting going, really. The first one was strictly organizational and introductory. Went through the broad guidelines of things. The amount that Bristol is receiving through that is $1,148,473.80 for the ARPA funds, which the town designated, so they have a little more leniency with how it's being used, but also less restrictions on how it's has to be recorded and reported. So there are steps that the committee's going through is setting up focus groups to try to get input from different community groups. So that's kind of the stage where that's at this point. It's really kind of a couple-year timeline for that, for the whole process.
Does anybody have any questions for Rob?
You're getting a lot of, or is the committee getting a lot of requests from people? You want to spend on this, you want to spend on that, or you're not gotten to that point yet?
There have been, I think, 9 unsolicited requests or suggestions for uses of the money, whether it be nonprofit groups or other groups, that sort of thing, or community improvement, whether it be infrastructure or things like that.
Mhm.
Anyone else? Thank you, Rob. Thank you for reminding me. On to the next item, continuing business. I don't know how wide, I can't remember how widely I advertise this, but we did a public bid for engineering consultant services, what do you want to call it, and did not receive any bids. So the next step, I've talked with Valerie a little bit, is to go out and specifically solicit from somebody or a few people and negotiate with them, if you will, and use existing rates that are on file from other projects as a basis of competition. So I haven't done anything. I wanted to bring it up before the commission to see if there's anybody that has any specific inputs on how to proceed, who we should be talking with. I know Chris Purley, in a different life, I think he was actually on the planning commission at one time. They had used a woman, I believe she's in Woodstock. The name escapes me right now. And he was pleased with her, and actually we started a conversation with her early on when I was attempting to get firm fixed pricing for the grant. And then we set that aside because of the confusion, and she had a lot of questions and that sort of thing. She would more than likely, based on Chris's recollections of experience in working with her, would probably be a likely candidate of at least one or to be considered. So I better stop talking and start listening at this point.
I'm open for suggestions. I have no idea where you find these people.
So Kevin, I have a question. I know we talked before about, well, we didn't really want the Regional Planning Commission to do this, but I'm wondering if we should at least consider them as one possible candidate. I was thinking this over, when they gave us that partial grant, it's not a lot of money. And I can see why some organizations just wouldn't be interested, especially ones, we talked before saying, well, Regional Planning Commission already knows Bristol, so we want a fresh look. Well, that's a good point. It's also true that since they know Bristol, they could probably do it more quickly for less money. And I'm not saying we should use them, but I wonder if we should at least include them in the people we talk to, so we have a comparison to work from. And I just toss that out as an idea. And we could set conditions on it too, that maybe, it shouldn't be someone who lives in Bristol, or it shouldn't be someone who's worked on Bristol before. There would be different ways to do it if we wanted to, I would think.
Okay, the other person is Brandy Saxon is a person, and Bill, you may recognize that name, I don't know.
Let me see if I can figure out how to work this. Okay, yeah, she's a very good person. At the time, I believe she lived across the lake. I could be wrong about that. Or maybe it was that she was started in the Regional Planning Commission and then she went independent. And did Chris say that he believes she lives in Woodstock now?
That's my recollection, because I did a little bit of surfing, and if I remember properly, which is becoming more and more difficult.
I know how you feel.
My recollection is she was in the Woodstock area. She's not real close, but she's in Vermont.
Well, if it's the same person, she's very talented, and she's also very fair. And I think she'd do a good job. And if she has a difference of view with one of us or all of us, we talk it through, work it out. I think we could trust her to do a good job. But I also like Jeff's point about considering all the options we have. We shouldn't rule out the planning commission. I don't remember, or most likely wasn't here when we decided not to make use of them. But at this point, especially consider the paucity of bids, I think we should at least consider them and evaluate our choices after that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any more discussion? If, is there a desire for me to go back and start talking to these people? We form a little subcommittee. How should we go forward?
Yeah, if you would. I don't know how it's done and what's legal and not legal in terms of how many, do we still have to talk to a certain number of people? Kevin, do you know?
Valerie's opinion is, since we went out to public bid and had no responses, we have some flexibility to negotiate at this point.
Well, my suggestion, and it's just a suggestion, is that we contact this person that Chris has recommended, Ms. Saxon, and contact the Regional Planning Commission and see what we get from them. And then we can move forward from there and see if we get something satisfactory, we're okay. And if we don't, then we start all over again.
And I'm assuming, and I've thought this through a little bit, so I got Kevin Hansen slant on it, but I'm assuming we would still use that same RFP and maybe loosen up some of the qualification, how many people you got with qualifications, all that kind of stuff, because all of a sudden we're talking with people that we're comfortable with, and then take it from there.
That seems reasonable.
And hopefully we'll have something for next month, maybe. Does anybody else want to be involved in that or not?
I'm happy to be involved, Kevin, to the extent I can right now.
Yeah.
At least to look at things when they come in, see what they look like.
Yeah, I certainly would have envisioned that we would, as a group, make a decision, but there would be some footwork to do, I guess you could say, in the meantime. So I'll keep you in the loop, Jeff.
Great.
Any other comments or concerns, discussions? So the next item is new business. Being the organizational meeting is also the time of year that we are in our I keep calling them bylaws, but they're policies and procedures. So if I get too loose with the terminology, that's what I mean. To look at them and revise them, reconsider any sort of changes that we want to make to them. Does anybody have any thoughts, discussions, concerns? Melissa?
First, I'd like to apologize for being late. Just before the meeting, I dropped my laptop and it wasn't very happy with that. So I had to restart and it just took forever. But is there anything in the bylaws at all about remote meetings? Do we do anything about that? I mean, is that something that you think we should continue? To me, it kind of makes sense actually, because if you're feeling ill or whatever, and if you have some kind of conflict, having the Zoom option, I think is a good idea.
Yeah, I don't think this is specifically said. Of course, it says in there we have to have public meetings, and right now the towns I don't know if you want to call it the policy, but the town strategy is to do hybrid meetings. And I'm not sure when or if that would ever change.
They are
So-
still public meetings.
Yeah,
So, and then right now, the other thing is right now, the state has loosened up the requirements for in-person public meetings for this next, until the next legislative session. One comment I will make, without, so, well, before I do that, does anybody else have any concerns or things to consider with the bylaws?
just to Melissa's point, it just says the planning commission will meet. It doesn't specify
Yeah,
in person
really
or
clear.
hybrid. So probably okay until, unless the state says can't do hybrid anymore, seems unlikely. There are some towns that have gone to all in person that I know of. I know of one that's caused a lot of political controversy in that town. So,
Well, it is being
I would-
recorded as well, so I wouldn't think there'd be an issue.
I think the other thing I'm thinking about is not only the state, but the town. If the town of Bristol at some point decides it's too cumbersome to have continue with hybrid meetings, we would probably have to follow suit with what the town desire is. Maybe they would have some flexibility with that, but yeah, it's interesting that it doesn't say our meetings are held publicly. That's an interesting thing. So that brings
but
it
that's,
to the,
no, it says all meetings are open to the public.
okay, it does, okay.
Yeah. So,
You're muted, Melissa.
Sorry, yeah, I mean, when you go to the town website, you click on the agenda and then you can join the Zoom. And anybody can do that.
So I've got one thing I'd like to bring up, and the bylaws currently state that we have our regular meeting on the third Tuesday of the month, which we have changed and agreed to change amongst us kids some time ago to accommodate schedules and whatnot. So I believe we should be thinking about that language and doing something at least with that language. I did in my chair notes doc that I sent out with the agenda, put in a suggestion if anybody wants to make a motion or debate what we actually do with that, which brings me along to the aside that I was going to comment originally about is when you get very specific in a broad document like a policy, you end up with these little things that all of a sudden you're not thinking about and change, and it's theoretically locked in a document that nobody cares about a lot of times. So any comments about the meeting paragraph?
I think the language you proposed is fine, Kevin.
Want to make a
Doesn't tie-
motion?
Doesn't tie us down.
That was my intent. You want to make a motion, or somebody want to make a motion then?
Yeah, I propose that we accept the new language that Kevin has proposed, that we meet typically on each month on a recurring day of the month posted on the town website.
I'll second that.
Okay, Shannon seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, everybody's in favor of changing the wording on the meetings, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
I,
Sounds like it passes unanimously. I guess going back to Melissa's comment, do we want to work up verbiage for how we meet, or do we believe we've got adequate description currently?
I think leave it alone and not address what format they're held in, because then it's the potential unintended consequences of leaving it locked in, just like the first or third Tuesday of the month sort of thing. They are still public meetings, and no matter which format they're held in, as long as they're acceptable with the town and the state, then we're good to go.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I think that's fine. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think Lyndon Johnson said that, Bill.
Actually, my grandfather said that.
Oh, that Lyndon Johnson, he was always stealing stuff from your grandfather.
So we'll just kind of table that then, by the sounds, if everybody's in agreement with that. Okay. That's the extent of our business. I guess at this point, we'll open it up for public comment, if there's any public comment.
I had a question, Kevin. I'm sorry, did you say that Lloyd is leaving? Lloyd, are you leaving us?
Yes, yeah, that is the case.
Well, thank you for having been a member.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm remiss in not saying the same thing, but yeah, you were certainly appreciated.
But what's a quorum for us?
The quorum is 5.
5, okay.
So quorum consists of the full board, not filled positions.
Right. I know, I realize that. Yeah, okay.
So we do have, I think the town was gonna advertise positions that weren't reappointed. I haven't seen any of that yet, but Valerie's aware of the fact that we have 2 commissioners that did not re-up for their appointments, so
Okay.
she'll be working that, and obviously we should be considering candidates that would be an asset to our deliberations as well.
Sure.
So did we have 3 open seats coming up? Is that correct?
2. Well, let me back up. Melissa, you re-up? Yeah. So it's 2.
Have we?
Oh,
heard
Jason, I forgot about Jason. Sorry.
Yeah, Jason, I'm not sure what the status is with Jason. He hasn't been here a few meetings, and he was communicating that he had conflicts, but I haven't heard from him for the last couple of meetings, so that's probably worth poking a little bit too, I guess.
Excuse me, Kevin,
Yes,
who is the other PC member not being reappointed or declining reappointment?
it was Tom Wallace.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussions about the organizational issues? So public comment, we were on public comment, so.
Yes, we are on public comments.
Any more public comment? Hearing none, I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Lloyd moves. Anybody second?
I'll second it.
Shannon seconds. Any discussion? All those in
Thank you for the
favor?
expedient work.
Yeah, you guys are getting back 26 minutes today.
And Bill, it was
All
William Tecumseh Sherman.
in
1884.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, looks like it's unanimous. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Aye.
Okay.